Well, welcome one and all to Bike Racing Without Mercy, and without any shadow of a doubt, my toughest ever day in a saddle and one of the most beautiful. My companion for the day is my Zwift WTRL teammate and all-round gentleman from the Wirral, Mr. Nick Brownbill, scientist supreme and also bringing an analytical precision to our route. It's a recce of the Northern Loop, which will comprise half of Nick's full Giro de Wales Backpedal group event. Now, mathematically speaking, the loop has spikes, long and steep ones, steep, disgustingly steep, and two perpendicular steep, unrelenting perpendicular. I do not exaggerate, but all of them rewarding, supplying vistas, flavoured jaw-dropping. I'm at a secret, okay, it's not a secret location in the Wirral, with Rhiannon and Nick. This is a sight to see. This gets Nick and his dad through 200-kilometre rides. 25 minutes later and...
Flapjack ready?
Flapjack ready. Are you going to consume all of that in the one ride?
Well, I'll bring it and I'll share it if you'd like some.
That will fit just about in the rear pocket there. It's quite convenient. Thank you ever so much. You've made me feel super, super welcome. And look at this. The watts are going to be high on the Welsh hills tomorrow. And in another masterpiece, what have we got here?
Cinnamon rolls.
Cinnamon rolls, handmade. The climbing hasn't even yet begun, but to the soon-to-be climbers, the spoils.
So Nick, what a slice of Welsh heaven have you brought me to, sir? We're currently in Festiniog, a little village outside Blaen of Festiniog. Newest UNESCO World Heritage Site in the UK, and we're about to climb up to Stwlan Dam. Turns out, when in Northern Wales, cross is boss. We got to get this thing over the fence there. Stwlan, here we come. Ready? Oh, missed clips completely.
Yeah, me too.
Well, that's a clip in that's only equalled what I typically do in a crit. A good 15 minutes to clip in. Well, that's beautiful. That's a good pace.
Yeah, cool. Key here is consistency, because the grade is so consistent. If you can find a comfortable cadence, basically 9% all the way.
All right. Wow, views. What about the surface?
Me and Top Cat had a conversation about this on the Discord, because this used to be a really bad section and they've redone it. Perfection, isn't it?
Certainly is.
Stwlan Dam is set against the now retired slate mines, and is to my mind one of the finest climbs in the UK. Steep, but consistent and therefore accessible, clocking in at 2.8 kilometres with 269 metres of climbing at 9.7% average gradient, and a view over the Snowdonia plain to take your mind off the lactic acid. A good place for an Everest, methinks. After our little skirmish with the gate to provide an early test for our teamworking skills, teamwork makes the dream work, and literally the longest, most excruciating clip-in ever witnessed to the world of cycling, it was time to wind up the diesel engine and see where the pace was at.
Around this corner we're coming up to Ed Laverex, Faber's Folly. He took that left, which doesn't go to the top.
Nick was the consummate gentleman, holding himself back in order to help me capture the vistas, and you'll see him on another climb of the perpendicular variety, shooting off into the distance in order to, and I kid you not, get in his intervals. I found a nice pace in a 270 to 300 watt range. Of course, I'd have loved that to be more like 290 to 310, but I was feeling jaded after a packed summer, and I reckon then it would take me quite a big drop in volume and a load of recovery, plus some structured training with intensity in order to get me back up to those elevated heights. The switchbacks are truly exceptional, providing exquisite views in the early morning, low-lying autumn sun. As with so much history, the dam is highly controversial and caused the displacement of local villages and families. And despite it looking very handsome against the backdrop of slate, green, brown and yellow, this does detract from some of its elegance.
How much further?
You can see the wall there. We just go round to the right. But we've done basically all the elevation. Just this tiny crest here.
If you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Plenty more to come.
Yeah, so segment end just around here.
My time, 13 minutes 30 seconds at decent gas with average power 278.
So Stwlan under the belt. What a glorious climb, Nick.
Unbelievable, isn't
Yeah,
it?
lived up to the billing. Sorry? Okay. There's a nasty looking climb there that we're going to do later on the left. The level of concern is already high for the next two. But look at this. Beautiful. What's the town called?
Betws y Coed.
Say that again.
Betws y Coed.
Betws y Coed.
If you're Scouse, it's called Betsy Coed. But
Okay.
Welsh speakers everywhere will cringe.
Well, Betsy Coed, here is to Nick's Flapjack. Nick is coming through for his big effort of the day. Au revoir, Nick.
Due to a ration of battery power, I decided not to film the ascent of Cwm Eigiau, and it was time for Nick's intervals. The climb measures in at 10%, but 1.2 kilometres of that with the hairpins averages 14%, and that tests the fortitude.
Morning.
Time was 2 minutes 39 seconds, diluted by 1 minute
splendid,
35 seconds, fully stopped at 2 different gates
Splendid,
to
if
open
you're
and
not doing
close them,
300
plus
watts.
taking it super easy on the final shallow 1/3. Average power 250, normalised 266.
The first 300 metres of ascending on this climb was sheer hell. Oh. I am a broken man. Nick did his intervals.
Just about.
It was so depressing to watch you shoot off into the distance. I had to get off to open the gate, but to be honest, I was so pleased to get off the bike. So how was your ascent there?
Just as painful. Yeah, there was
Just
a
as
point
painful, but a hell of a lot quicker.
I've got 36/28 as my smallest gear, so I've got no choice. I want to keep the pedals turning. It has to be fast.
For the aficionados of big gear riding, there you have it. Worth it. So what's the next one we got?
The Colwyd, the famous Colwyd. Some people say it's the hardest climb in Great Britain.
Is it harder than the one we just gone up?
It certainly is.
There's a tear. You can't see it. There is a tear running down this cheek. So Nick, the Colwyd,
The Colwyd.
the level of concern is at a peak right now.
Yeah, this might be the most concerned I've ever been on a bike.
No, he's a strong lad. I, however, have to bring in the heavy artillery, the Guava energy bar. So this is the gate that was as much of a relief as an inconvenience, in all honesty. Oh, Nick.
Keep going through, mate.
You're a gent. You know, I thought I was doing dreadfully up here, but I'm actually quite proud of making it up at this.
Yeah.
Because this is proper disgusting.
Yeah.
I should have filmed more of it. I mean, but just look at it. Look at it, please. I don't know how you do intervals like this, because it's an interval session in its own right, just getting up the steep bits. And it starts so prettily. Is that a word, prettily? Yeah, but it rips your face off. Cunningly, to reposition the cameras, Nick has decided to stop us just in front of what is going to be a nasty adversary. Nick, describe the profile.
The Colwyd is straight up, and then it's straight up some more, and then it's straight up.
The last disgusting climb was only 5 kilometres ago. Literally, the mind is not yet in the game, but we're going to do it.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll get there.
For those who enjoyed the antics of man versus food, and I refer of course only to those with Adam in them, you'll be more than aware of the Scoville scale for measuring chili heat. I will adopt my own version of the Scoville scale to enable the succinct comparison as to how difficult and arduous the different climbs are.
19.7%.
And my unit of measurement in my very own scale will be a Kolli. Now an easy climb, like Box Hill with consistent gradient, might just be a quarter or 25% of a Kolli. Whereas when I discover an absolute monster, longer and more terrible than even the Kolli, it will be maybe 1¼ times a Colwyd or 1.25 times a Kolli. Currently the Colwyd is my Carolina Reaper chili, 2.2 million Scovilles to save you hitting Google. And no doubt some of you know worse, much worse. So as a minimum, let's say the Colwyd is my Trinidad Moruga Scorpion, 2 million Scovilles. And yet, ignorance can be bliss.
Sensible folk go straight on because that does level off, but we turn right for the big hill.
This monster amongst monsters takes you up 413 metres of vertical in just 3 kilometres. The average gradient is an I want my mummy 13.6%. That's an average gradient. On the back of Cwm Eigiau, alongside the instantly steep gradients of the Colwyd, your heart rate soars like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. Luckily, I wasn't looking much at my computer, intent only on measuring out my power in order to survive the climb.
We've got 2.3 kilometres to go, so we've done 700 metres. In about 200 metres around this corner, we get some light relief of 10% or so.
The chirpy announcement from Nick that we'd only done 700 metres rained down like a hammer blow.
Don't panic too much about it, but I think this is the sharpest hairpin on the climb.
The first hairpin rears at you out of the canopy of trees, and with my heart rate into the 180s, it was time for emergency power.
Nice wide
minus
outside line.
The emergency can of Coke.
You can do it, Phil.
I really had started to think that I wouldn't be able to complete the climb. This first diabolical segment is
Climb Pro, it
unreal,
looks like we turned this
but
bend,
Nick's encouragement
and we're down below
was
10%.
simply sensational.
So if you can make it to there, we can get some micro rest. I'm not saying it's easy, not at all, but if you can.
Heart rate dropping down to a mere
Let's just call that a
176 to 177, following minimising the power to continue in a straight line.
Oh no. Well saved, Phil.
I definitely thought I was going to fall off or have to stop, and that would have been the end of the climb for me. But miracles do happen, and somewhere a divine spirit intervened. Plus, a big dose of power on the pedals.
Well done.
I felt burned out as we hit the flat bit here, and definitely thought that I was finished. Time
No.
to pull the ripcord. But
You sure?
with Nick's encouragement,
Okay.
plus ultra low power on this shallow gradient, the micro recovery worked its magic
As long as
and
you're
brought my
turning the
heart rate
pedals, I'm
down to
staying with you,
nearly
mate.
174.
If you stop turning the pedals, I'll go, but until then, I'm behind you.
And the climb gave me a second miracle because I was able to live and surge again, and resolved to treat the rest of it as my very own interval session. It never fails to amaze me how quickly the resolve can flood back if you get an opportunity to just feather the power a little bit while keeping the pedals rotating.
We've done 1.2k, we've got 1.8k to go. Full disclosure, we're about to come to a steeper section again, but we'll take all the rest we can get before then.
When you're in the red and in a very dark place, it's probably best not to learn that we're less than halfway with just 1.2 kilometres under the belt and 2 kilometres to go. Here I'm in a slightly better place as I luxuriate in the, well, just a bit more than micro recovery section, while simultaneously musing on the fact that the second hard segment is the same as the first in terms of difficulty. I mean, how can that be possible? How can it be? Really, how? Time to launch again, but with the heart rate in much better shape from a base of 167. Question was that sufficient recovery to get the job done?
Nice wide lines here.
This hairpin, replete with man with freely roaming dog, saw the unwelcome return of 19 to 25% gradients and the high 170s
Taking any
heart
line
rate
we
as I
can get
surged
off
for
here.
all I was worth.
Well done, Phil.
Getting into the rhythm of my interval session here, lunging on the steepest bits and micro-recovering in the mid-teens. Heart rate 179 to 180, not good, DEFCON 1. A massive lunge to the sunlight and what I calculate must be near the top. I mean, both sunlight and views. We must be near the top. We must, right? Surely. I demand it.
Look at that view.
With heart rate cresting 180, I make an increasingly desperate lunge here. Save our souls indeed. Send copious amounts of fast digesting carbohydrates to a crisis unfolding on the Kolli.
1.2 kilometres to go.
Wow. Really, it's hot.
100 metres of elevation to go.
Okay.
1.2 kilometres to go? This cannot be. This simply cannot be. But in more welcome news, only 100 metres of ascending to go. And I rationalise this as basically 1.25 times Swain's Lane. And I've done that a lot before. A great deal, right? Another massive lunge. Heart rate 180 to 182. Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Bike Racing Without Mercy, requesting a 5% gradient, please. It was a very expensive burst of power, as you can see from my dejected profile, desperately trying to kickstart the diesel engine.
You're doing so well, Phil. Less than a kilometre to go now. And less than 100 metres of climbing.
Another lunge into yet more 18 to 22% gradients, and with a heart rate at 182, words and thoughts were literally starting to fail me. But was there hope? Surely there couldn't be hope.
Slow as you need.
Slow as you need indeed. This climb in its own right deserves the full whammy of a thumbs up, a subscription if you haven't, and also a hit the bell to let you know of new videos, so please do. This must be the last lunge. Surely, surely, as God is my witness, surely. I reacquainted myself with my tempo. Here, the runway was just about in sight, but I was coming in with one engine on fire and in danger of falling short. Therefore, time to wallop open the thrust levers and claw back some altitude with a near final lunge to freedom from this exquisite purgatory. And now time to burn the last of the matches and the box to boot. Drain the tank, get fully into the deepest velvet red known to the devil, rain down the power and say to your grandchildren, you conquered this hill.
Yeah, strong finish, Phil. Great work. So over and over just in case.
And yes, sheep, run for your lives. Bike Racing Without Mercy and his Colnago, elevated heart rate and contorted pain face is amongst you. I've stormed your house, your field and your fell.
That was the hardest climb I've ever done. It was all I could do to turn the pedals. On a micro recovery, thank you for the encouragement. I'd have quit after the really steep bit.
Yeah.
I was all in. It was a little burst in a 450, 550 watts to get up the steep hairpins. Absolutely murdered me, but it feels good.
Time? Well, on Strava 28:43, but that's because Nick and I sat at the start of the segment sorting out the cameras and filming the opening. My actual time, as you'll see on Training Peaks, was a proper emotional 21 minutes and 39 seconds.
Nick's flapjacks to the rescue. One mint magnum. Who'd have thought it? Middle of October, ice cream is on the deck. Nick, thank you for laying on the weather here in Snowdonia.
Try my best.
Here's to an amazing ride and an amazing day.
Yeah, great day.
Emergency Coke is incoming. Thank you very much, that's brilliant. Hi. Sorry, no.
The road goes round to the right. We're going straight up and this is the climb from this.
Okay.
The segment Penmashno, the climb from hell, is not the climb from hell as touted on the Strava segment. The climb to Cwm Penmashno isn't easy, comprising 293 metres of elevation over 4.3 kilometres, 6.3% average gradient with a few steep ramps. But it's not even the little brother to the Kolli, let alone the evil twin. maybe it's half a Kolli. The mint ice cream magnum, a full fat Coke, and also the sight of the little red bunny rabbit tea shop had lifted my energy levels. So I settled in to sustain a zone 3 pace, 230 to 260 watts, with a few surges on the steepness. On a day like today, the climb from hell is in fact a pleasure to climb. And the valley on my left, or my right as you look back at me, looks like a land of milk and honey. Flagging towards the end, we dispatched this climb in 17 minutes and 52 seconds, having once again managed to faff around with the cameras, having started the segment. 18 minutes 54 was a Strava time. My average power was a ready to snooze in the car, 235 watts, 254 normalised.
We're about 100 kilometres and 2,700 metres of ascending into this, and Nick asks, do you mind if we just pull over here into this viewing point so we can take a selfie? Do I mind? I am begging to stop. I don't know what it is with people who live in steep parts of the UK in their bonus climbs, but Nick, this looks like a disgusting little bonus climb. What's it called?
It's called Cwm Eigiau.
Cwm Eigiau. It sounds almost innocent, doesn't it? It isn't. Try to enjoy it, he tells me. Enjoyment is all relative.
Full disclosure, I really didn't want to climb, but it's one of Nick's favourite places. He runs up it with Rihanna. Therefore, it was only right and proper that I should capture some of his effort.
Good going, mate. I'm not going to complete the climb.
No?
No.
1k to go. If you want 10% average.
I can't do it, I'm fucked.
Okay, mate.
You go.
As Nick unleashed full fury on the pedals and blew past me like I was going backwards, my mind most likely gave up long before the body. Snowdonia definitely won. If this Giro de Wales line took us 5 hours of moving time, I reckon the full 230 kilometres, 6,000 metres of elevation for the Giro de Wales a la Brownbill will be more like a 12-hour marathon.
Man versus Wales. Wales won. Not surprising why. How was it?
Hard.
Yeah. You were going well. You were going well.
Thank you.
It's seriously hard. The final, well, I didn't see the final kilometre, but I was clinging on just to film. Nick, I mean, my word.
Yeah, final kilometre average 10%, so it was, I mean, it was tough. And
Yeah. End ride? Hell yes. Nick, thank you ever so much for this weekend. You and Rihanna made me feel super welcome last night. The pasta came in somewhat handy, as did the cinnamon rolls, to power us through that. Did I not realise just how difficult it is to ride in Wales? I feel privileged to have done it, but thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. I feel absolute pleasure riding with you. Anytime you want to ride in Wales again, always welcome at ours, always happy to do it.
The wheels are back on. Can you do the same for my legs?
Yeah, I wish.